Much of the evidence linking Trump to Masonry comes from the interpretation of symbolism, but some of this symbolism is very compelling. Suspicion arose originally upon hearing that Trump's penthouse apartment inside Trump Tower in New York was on the 66th floor. This seemed unlikely at first, because Trump Tower is only 58 stories high, but articles from mainstream sources like Time magazine, the Boston Globe, and the New York Times confirm Trump lives in a 3-story penthouse that takes up the 66th to 68th floors. An article on Bloomberg.com says the discrepancy is the result of Trump skipping the 6th through 13th floors. The number 66 has a cult significance which will be explained later, but on its own, Trump's living on the 66th floor could easily be a coincidence. Pictures of the apartment's interior, however, bear a significant resemblance to one of the landmark images in Freemasonic history. Trump's apartment looks suspiciously similar to the frontispiece from James Anderson's 1723 book called The Constitutions of the Freemasons. FreemasonInformation.com says this book is the basis of modern Freemasonry. It was the first Masonic book printed in America. Both Anderson's image and Trump's penthouse feature multiple pairs of columns. MasonicHeritage.org identifies the figure in the Anderson picture as Apollo, god of the sun, charging in his chariot. The Hollywood Reporter and the Wall Street Journal have referred to the figure in Trump's ceiling chariot as Apollo. These pairs of columns or pillars are a major theme of Freemasonry. They represent the oppositions within man which must be unified in order to reach higher consciousness, much like the yin and yang. The Masonic arch and keystone unify the two pillars. Coincidentally, Trump made his first appearance on The Today Show in 1980 at the age of 33. In this interview, Tom Brokaw mentions Trump being 33 years old 3 times. He begins by saying Trump is interested in buying the Twin Towers, which were 2 of the largest Masonic symbols in history. 33 is the favorite number of the Freemasons. There are 33 degrees in Scottish Rite Freemasonry. This is because there are 33 vertebrae in the spine, which is the pathway of the Kundalini, a mystical force which lies dormant at the base of the spine. When the oppositions within man are unified, the Kundalini rises up the spine, activating the chakras and initiating enlightenment or higher consciousness. Strangely, Brokaw never returns to the topic of Trump buying the Twin Towers, as if he has only mentioned it for its symbolic significance, like that of Trump's age of 33. Trump owns a copy of Renoir's 1874 painting La Loge. Renoir painted this when he was 33 years old, and La Loge in English means the lodge. Wikipedia tells us that a Masonic lodge is the basic organizational unit of Freemasonry. Trump also owns a statue of Eros and Psyche. The Roman equivalent of Eros is Cupid. At first, this statue seemed meaningless, but we must remember that the oppositions that we see in the form of the 2 pillars are, in part, the masculine and feminine archetypes. If you Google Cupid, Psyche, and alchemy, you will get many results. Even Wikipedia says that this story contains Neoplatonic elements and allusions to mystery religions, and that Cupid and Psyche's love results in their ultimate union in a sacred marriage. This is the alchemical marriage, which is like the unifying of the 2 pillar oppositions. Alchemy is essentially about transforming the lower consciousness or base metal man into a higher consciousness man of gold. Freemasonry and alchemy are essentially the same in this sense, and Trump's apartment, at the top of his tower, is covered in gold. This may be more than just bad decorating taste. It may be a reference to the gold at the end, or top, of the alchemical transformation. Some of the rooms in Trump's penthouse use the crisscross, X's and diamonds type pattern seen here on the floor. This is a pattern sometimes seen in Freemasonic symbolism. Trump's use of this pattern may be significant. Again, coincidentally, He uses this pattern combined with the Masonic black and white checkerboard floor in the lobby of another of his buildings, Trump Park Avenue. We must now return to the significance of the number 66. It is related to both the union of oppositions and the number 666, which are in turn related. You can find many conspiracy theorists on the internet currently claiming Trump Tower is 666 feet in height. Most mainstream sources list the height as 202 meters, or 664 feet. There is at least one site, nycarchitecture.com, that lists Trump Tower as 203 meters tall, which would be 666.01 feet. Either way, the proximity to a height of 666 feet is extremely suspicious considering the possibility Trump drastically altered the floor numbering of his building to get his penthouse to start on the 66th floor. Gematria, or the ascribing of numbers to letters, is used in secret societies. F, O, and X all equal 6 in English reduction gematria. OO and XX can be equivalent to 6, and these letter shapes are used in some of the most important unification of opposition symbols. First, the Vesica Pisces is formed by two circles, or two O's. Next, both the compass and square and the hexagram are union of opposition symbols, and they both incorporate X's. V is also used as a 6, because the Hebrew V, or vow, equals 6, and Hebrew is the language of Kabbalah, which is the basis for much of the occult. The compass and square and the hexagram can also be seen as interlocking V's. Finally, the yin-yang symbol looks like two 6s as well. XX, OO, and VV all equal 66. These are the shapes used to create multiple unification of opposition symbols. The Masonic compass and square is essentially made up of interlocking V's. In this sense, the main symbol of Freemasonry could be said to equal 66. The most public use of the XX symbol is the Dos Equis logo. The XX intersection forms a diamond shape, and within the Dos Equis diamond is a golden god-man. The union of oppositions, or the alchemical process, turns man into a being of higher consciousness, or a golden god-man. The diamond is an important alchemical symbol. The base metal man is turned into gold just as less valuable carbon materials produce a diamond. The intersections of all these symbols, meaning the diamond, the Vesica shape, and the hexagon, represent this state of higher consciousness produced by the unity of oppositions. An article on MasonicTrial.com says the hexagon can be seen as the interior of two interlaced triangles, the hexagram. This was used by esotericists to indicate a linking of two concepts, perhaps as seen in the emerald tablet of as above, so below, the linkage of heaven and earth. It is essentially the same symbol as the Vesica Pisces, and thus linked to the interlocked square and compass S as well. This article also says the oblong diamond created by the intersection of the square and compass S is also integral to the geometry of the Vesica Pisces. So, how are 66 and 666 related? Interestingly, this will involve an interpretation of the Skull and Bones logo. Freemasons will tell you that Skull and Bones is not a part of Masonry, but at the heart of the occult is a similar story. This is a story of cyclical history, or a history of rises and falls in the consciousness levels of mankind. Just as there is summertime in the 365-day year, there is a golden age of man during the great year of 24,000 years based on the precession of the equinoxes. This would explain why occultists believe there are dormant powers within man that some attempt to tap into. It would also explain why the elite occult is involved in the creation of a new world order. They are preparing a new order for a new world of higher consciousness mankind, but they are doing so in a way which might not be beneficial to a large percentage of the masses. 322, the number of skull and bones. is related to our 66 discussion, in that phi is the 22nd letter of the alphabet. So, 322 means 3 times 22, which is 66. But, 322 also means 3V, which is 3 V's, or VVV, which is 666. Thus, 322 refers to both 66 and 666. This is because both 322 and the skull and bones picture refer to the 24,000-year-long precession of the equinoxes. There are 666 years in one decan, which is 10 degrees of the 360-degree zodiac circle. There are 66 years in 1 degree of the zodiac circle. The secret to the relationship of these two numbers is that they are meant to repeat, as in 666.666 etc. That makes 66.66 repeating times 10 equal to 666.66 repeating, whereas 66 alone is not a factor of 666. The skull and bones image itself is meant to represent mankind in the darker ages of the cycle, during which man is spiritually dead, or purely material. When the Golden Age returns, the more spiritual man will be resurrected. Some may have heard that 322 refers to Genesis 3:22. This passage reads, "And the Lord God said, Behold, the man is become as one of us, to know good and evil, and now, lest he put forth his hand, and take also of the tree of life, and eat, and live forever." After this, Adam and Eve are expelled from the Garden of Eden. Generally speaking, the themes of this story are man becoming like gods and then experiencing a fall from paradise. This is consistent with the idea that man was once a higher consciousness being in the past Golden Age, the last being Atlantis, and that since then, he has experienced a fallen consciousness. This is why 322 refers to material death and the length of periods of the cycle of precession. It is because the occult tells a story of cyclical history with periodic returns to the Golden Age. Masons are builders. They are rebuilding the temple within man, but they are also rebuilding the world for a return to the next Golden Age. In New Dimensions for the Cube of Space, David Allen Hulse writes, "The 66 leaves also symbolize the Wheel of Fortune, for, in Hebrew, 66 is the value of wheel." This is an example from another occult tradition of the significance of the number 66. Here he relates it to the wheel, and we can see the 4 zodiac age symbols which represent the center signs from the 4 seasons of cyclical history, or the Wheel of History. The Masonic use, and Trump's use, of Apollo the sun god on his chariot likely refers to the movement of the sun during its multiple cycles, like the day, the year, and the great year. These cycles are the basis for so much of mythology and religion, and secret societies claim to pass on the true meanings of these allegories. Trump's daughter Ivanka is married to Jared Kushner, a member of another prominent real estate family, who in 2006 purchased 666 Fifth Avenue, a building which famously featured a prominent 666 at the top of its exterior. The New York Times said at the time that Jared Kushner signed the contract to purchase the building and that the Kushners spent an unusually large amount on the property. It was the highest price ever paid for a single office building in the United States at the time. The Kushners, though, own billions of dollars worth of property, so maybe they were bound to purchase a building with a 666 address eventually. Yet, the Kushners chose to move their headquarters from New Jersey to 666 Fifth Avenue after the purchase. If you go to Kushner.com, you can see their New York contact address listed as 666 Fifth Avenue. Trump has built a golf course in Scotland for which he had designed his own coat of arms, which includes a double-headed eagle, a well-known symbol of Freemasonry. The 2 heads are the 2 oppositions once again. The 2 5-pointed stars and the 3 upside-down V's are very common, but could be related to Masonry as well. Constructing a building with a penthouse on the 66th floor while keeping the total height at 666 feet would be almost impossible using standard floor heights, and Trump Tower is 68 stories. If Trump had built a building that actually stood 66 stories high, it would likely have had to have been at least 700 feet tall. So, how do you get the penthouse on the 66th floor while keeping the building only 666 feet high? You eliminate 8 floors and alter the floor numbers.